the next edition of the Dad Soul Extra Time Show. I am one of your genial hosts. I am Dan Flanagan. I am joined by as always, by the Orville to my Keith Harris, the Christopher Dean to my Jane Tornville, the straight out of Ilkley crazy mofo called Coulson, and despite whatever rumours going around, he is not the creative mind around the Willy Wonka experience in Glasgow.
No, that one's not my fault. I love it.
Well, it did look like you, though, didn't it? Let's be honest. It had you written all over it.
Oh yeah, exactly. For people who don't know the story, they sold this massive, amazing kind of Willy Wonka factory experience, and they'd got a load of AI images, hadn't they? They'd used AI to kind of a load of images. The first clue should have been on the Facebook page where you go and buy the tickets. It does that thing that AI does, where it's really good at coming up with images, but writing it can't do. And all the words were nonsense. It was like chocolate-bog-blog and bibbly-boggly-bog-bob-bob. And no one had gone, this might not be as legit as it's making out. And then when they got there, it was a brilliant, just empty warehouse with a couple of little bits of scenery on it and a very bored-looking Oompa Loompa woman.
There was bored Oompa. I think there was a couple of drama students chucked in there. It was almost like a cold and drafty leisure centre and a couple of tarpaulins, wasn't it? And the poor fella behind it, he's got a short-range career in events. They were calling it like the Fire Island of family-friendly experiences. And that's harsh.
That is harsh. But I can't wait to watch the documentary about it. The Fire Island documentary was just perfect. So I'm looking for the Scottish version, which will probably involve more violence, to be perfectly honest, having been to Glasgow for a night out.
Will be. We're kind of like the Fire Island of parenting, aren't we?
Yeah, that's what we should have. That should be the slogan. Oh, my goodness. And what I'm delighted about...
Promise a great thing.
We promise a great thing, deliver very little. I really like that it's moved out from being a seasonal thing now, because usually... this was the sort of thing, it was winter wonderlands all across the country, wasn't it? Come to visit the winter wonderland, see Santa and his reindeer. And then there's like a poorly looking horse with some like sticks sellotaped to its head that made it look like a reindeer to all intents and purposes. And that was about it. And every year, about December time, there's stories about people suing the owners of Winter Wonderland Chorley or whatever.
Well, yeah, I think that apparently everybody's got their money back, so fair play. But I just wanted to dispel those rumours. It was not us, and it could have been Jim, but it wasn't us. This is the Dad the Soul Extra Time Show. We've got 60-something minutes of fatherhood, funk, foolishness to entertain all of you lovely and potentially lonely people at home on your lunchtime. So, Jim. It's been 2 weeks since we spoke. Mm-hmm. Regular listeners, that one or two people, might cast your mind back to the last episode where we were discussing dad guilt.
Yes.
And the option to go away. And you asked us to keep you accountable to whether or not you could go to Abu Dhabi.
So I'm a little bit annoyed about this because I was all ready to press the button on getting some tickets to go to Abu Dhabi, and then there's a last minute negotiation over dates, but it's happening. It's definitely happening. I'm definitely going to be going to go and see my best mate. He's moved out to Abu Dhabi. He's got a couple of years on his visa, and the debate was, I've got the money to buy the tickets, but I feel guilty about going away from the family from that point of view. Everything's set. It's just a little debate over the timings of it and when it's convenient for my friend. And then I will have pressed that button. So in 2 weeks' time, I'll definitely have it booked, whether it's for when I intended to go or another point in the year where it's not too hot in Abu Dhabi. It is going to happen. So
that's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah, you're limited. You know, Ilkley's were not known for its tropical climate, so you're going to burn.
Well, it does. It rains here 367 days a year, and so Abu Dhabi and Ilkley's climate's slightly different. Yeah, no, I don't think I'd be able to handle that very well. I've only been to the Middle East once. I went to Dubai, and it was October, and I still felt like I was absolutely melting. So we'll see how that works out.
Will you fit in like a string vest and like a hanky over your head and like grey socks and some sandals?
I'm a British tourist, so there's
Yeah.
no question that I care about fitting in, is there? That's the whole point. As a British
Learning the
tourist,
language and the cultural references, and
yeah,
you'll be just wandering around looking for a Weatherspoons, probably, won't you?
that's it. And if they don't have one, I will be throwing patio furniture around like an England football fan in the 1980s and 90s.
You have to get your big fat belly out and a very bright red face. That used to make me really sad as an Englishman. That was our representation abroad. All these other nations were having fun and having a couple of beers and enjoying it, and we had what's the polite word for them? Idiots.
I know, it's such a shame, and it does sort of really colour how people see your nation. And it's like, I wouldn't have done that. I'd have just gone to the football and had a good time, and then, gone and met some other people from other cultures and had really learning experience and nice time and stuff.
Yeah, no, I just want to wreck stuff.
Yeah, and that was it. People did go out there just intentionally to throw furniture around, and that was about it. And you could just tell it the inevitability of it happening every single time. And then FIFA say they might ban England, but they're not going to ban England, are they? Because what a big upheaval that would be to ban a team from the World Cup because of its fans. And oh my goodness. So it just went on and on forever.
Great. Well, I'm glad it didn't. Sorry, I've just taken it for what if you're watching, I'm taking off my headphones because Jim started to weirdly echo because we've got this annoying tech gremlin where it keeps going a bit crackly. So hopefully it won't be crackly on you, the boys and girls at home, end, but it is mine. So if you see me going like this, I am listening to Jim, but also I'm trying not to feel like I'm being eaten by a robot.
Well, some of us like that kind of thing. So, don't shame people if they like being eaten by a robot.
That is a niche audience, a niche only fans, isn't it?
You know what? Niche is the way forward. You're never going to get like the full mainstream audience for that. So you might as well go for the niche. It's in SEO, it's long tail keywords. That's what they talk about.
So what long-term keyword would you use to try and attract the audience or the community that are into being potentially eaten by robots?
It's a good question.
Which you hadn't asked.
Hashtag robot eater. Let's get that trending. Come on. You remember when people used to do that? Like now you can't get anything trending on Twitter because, it's taken up by people sponsoring hashtag Activia yogurts or whatever. So you can't get a trend going anymore unless, you do something really, really horrible that's going to get you cancelled. And let's face it, I'm not up for that today. Really not.
We've come close a couple of times.
Yeah. Oh, no, exactly. Yeah, we'll sail close to the wind. Don't get me wrong, but I'll try not to.
Yeah. It's weird. What is it? In the real world, this time last week, we were being filmed by a proper grown-up broadcast company and TV and radio, and that would have gone out actually. When you're listening to this, this time next week, it will be going live. Not going live, not like Phil Schofield going live.
No, it's not. There's no Gordon the Gopher involved in this. It's It's very different. So this is going out on Morning Live, yeah?
It's going out on Morning Live TV and Radio 1. I've not yet seen Morning Live TV because it's in the morning and I tend to have a job. And also, I realised I haven't listened to Radio 1 since the 90s.
So this will be a new experience for you. And I mean, that's it. Not only are you listening to it, you'll be actually on it.
Yeah, on Broadcast National. So it came about Comic Relief, and it's Red Nose Day coming up. They have a team of producers that scour the country for the interesting stories, and they put together films that hopefully entertain you and pull at your heartstrings, and you donate more money to Comic Relief. And we just happened to be this year's pinups. So he came down, a lovely guy called Matt Edmondson from the Matt and Molly show on Radio 1, came down and spent the day with myself, Tyler, Jaden, Stu, and then we went for a pint and a walk on the beach and had some very interesting and open conversations about fatherhood. And actually, I think Catherine, one of the producers, she's seen the rough cut of the film already. And her words are, I think this is going to get people thinking very differently about fatherhood. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, no, as long as they're thinking of it in the way kind of we want them to think about it in order to support what we do, that's good. If they think, yes, maybe dads really are useless and just sit on the sofa and demand food. Yeah.
Buffoon. So, yeah. So from like today, where we are going live on Instagram, Mixcloud, Facebook, Twitter, on our X, and Face Radio Brooklyn. Next week, we will be on the Beeb.
So the weird thing is that I've been chatting with the producer of that Morning Live segment from the films team or whatever it is, Jake. And he seems like a nice bloke. But my brother actually works on Morning Live. Did you know that? That's
I did not know that.
No, he works in the social media team. So
okay.
So I sort of had a word with Jake, and I said, I guess you work with my brother then, and he was like, I do, yeah, I know him, yeah. And I told my brother, and I was like, oh, do you know someone called Jake? And he went, oh yeah, Jake, he's a really lovely bloke. He's really nice. He's really tough. And I was a bit like, oh, those two reactions were different, weren't they? How well is my brother received at work? I don't know. But he seems to like Jake a lot, and Jake was very steady in his response to the question. So I don't know. That's an awkward one to bring up at Christmas, isn't it?
And it's awkward one to bring up in this broadcast.
Yes, it is. Let's move on from that little bit of conversation then.
Okay, we are... What number show is, do you think? 147,309?
If I was to have a guess, I'd say number 15. I think that's what it is. Just not 15 of we're doing it live streamed, but 15 podcast number 15 of Dad Soul extra time. And I think we're about to hit our really rich vein of form now, right?
I think it is. I think there's been hours and hours of content meeting, editorial schedules, budgetary discussions, a lot of it, to and fro in the boardroom. Or we could have just come up with some more ideas on the back of a fag packet.
You know what? We don't want to reveal the mystery. So if you want to guess which one of those is the right answer, that is in your head, and we're not guiding you in one direction or the other. As I just quickly look over to the hastily arranged Google document that we have put together.
And start looking at the notes I put in there for what songs this week, because we haven't actually discussed that. So while you do that, this week, the little town that I'm from, Worthing, has become famous. They're all over social media. There was a teenager that decided to have a house party.
All right, yeah.
Put it out on social media. And it went viral. And 250 kids turned up.
Oh.
And blocked the road. 20 police cars.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was all over the newspapers. And immediately I sort of smelt a rat because it was in the Daily Fail. Said, teenage party rampage. Kids put stuff over Facebook. I was like, right, that's a lie. No under 40 uses Facebook anyway. And it's the Daily Mail, and so it's not. But there were a couple of hundred people. Apparently a couple of Snapchat conversations had got a bit out of hand. So my question was, were you party, not to this teenager's party, but back in the day, did you go to any out of control house parties? How would you react now?
Yes. So interestingly, this has sort of happened on a much smaller scale at the house opposite where we live.
Is this the one that you look through the windows into their bathroom that you were telling me about?
Now, if you listen back to the tape, I refer you to the tape from last week. I don't think I ever said I looked through the bathroom. I did say I quite often look out.
That was edited, wasn't it? You looked out. So.
I look out and then it was cut. So there is, yes, it is that same house. So it's opposite where we live. And I often mainly see their dog sitting in the window, and he's like my little work buddy, because my office is at the front of our house, and I sort of see him and me and the dog have a bit of a work dog relationship going on. gazing across the street. So there was a couple of years ago, there was a lot of noise coming from their house. And a lot of us on the street were a bit like, that's a bit much. And then there was quite a lot of shouting and stuff. So I went out to investigate, and mainly because at that time my kids were really quite young, and one of them slept in the front of the house. So that's where the noise was coming from. And I was a bit like, I need this to actually just not be as loud now, please. So I went over and then I heard like people like punching doors and stuff like that. And then I hastily retreated back to my house. At the same time, my neighbour came out, and he's a tough bloke. He's an ex-army. He's a lovely man, but you wouldn't mess with him if you came across him on a dark street.
You put him front and centre, didn't you?
I stood behind him, yes. So the next door neighbours of the house as well, the bloke who lives there is like a very big and built builder. He's tough. So with them two in front of me, I felt a lot more brave as we went over. You really
mouthy in the background going, you're going to get your head kicked. You tell him, Dave. Brian, get him over there.
Kind of. We went across the street and we were trying to work out what was happening. And basically it turned out there was a load of lads who turned up uninvited from a place called Horsforth. But what they'd done is they'd been looking on Snapchat, the same. And when a lot of people have Snapchat on at the same time, you can see where they're all gathered. And if they're all gathered, that usually means there's a party going on. So they'd seen that on Snapchat and they were like, well, let's get to Burley and Wharfdale, where I live, and let's go to the party. And they were not invited and they were not welcome. And there was a lot of shouting. And so the two proper blokes and me, we basically were like, come on, get out, let's go. Let's go, come on.
Flip round the ear.
Yeah, get down the street, come on. And like the people go, it's a free country. To which my response was, yeah, and I'm free to tell you to just go and let my children sleep. And I felt tough because then I could run behind the tough people. And eventually we kind of got it dispersed and it quietened down. And then the rest of the party went off without a hitch. It wasn't too loud or anything. And then 2 days later, when the parents had returned, the dad brought his teenage daughter around to everybody's house to apologise. And she looked the most embarrassed that I've ever seen anyone looking in my life. And I get quite embarrassed by loads of situations, and I've seen myself. But she was very, very bashful about what had occurred. And I think that public shaming had probably put her off. But there's been no more Snapchat parties since then, as far as I could tell.
I suppose that's one way. At least it didn't get out of control and like the riot squad were called. And windows were smashed, cars were set alight.
Yeah, this ended, I think, this was the best possible outcome for us, rather than the three of us having to start a fight or something with a load of teenagers that we'd have probably lost in the end. So I think, I don't think they were that bothered about sticking around. And I think you forget, because there were a lot of them and only three of us, but you do forget when you're a teenager and you're in that sort of gang, you're not probably that tough, are you? You just act tough because you've got the strength in numbers. But when real adults come along, you do sort of defer to them a little bit. And you're a bit like, I don't want to mess around. And I mean, those two blokes do look really tough as well. So I think they were quite happy to just go to another party, go and gate crash somewhere else before they caused any issues. But I
remember being a teenager. One of my mates, Gab, we used to crash parties, not in a terrible way, but he was always convinced there would be somebody called John at party. I'm a mate of John's. Can we come in? And 9 times out of 10, it actually worked. But I remember a couple of occasions we were walking back from the pub, and there's this row of shops, and we saw the lights and the music. The party says, right, we're in there. Knocked on the door. A couple of days later, somebody came down, and Gab's like, oh yeah, we're mate of John's. I said, okay. Come on in, lads. Went in there. And there's like 6 people in the front room.
Oh.
Got put in the front room. They shut the door and go, right, which one's John? And we're like, this is really, really awkward. And it got quite, intimidating. And we had to sort of push him out the way and make a leg for it.
Wow.
So lesson, don't gate crash parties. Or the other one, we gate crashed one, and we're in the kitchen because you always find me in the kitchen at parties.
Of course, yeah.
And it was a party for all of the local police cadets. So pretty much everybody there was old Bill.
Wow. Okay. You know how to pick a party to crash, don't you? The one's the only party where they're going to call your bluff. And then the only party just full of police officers who probably not happy about you trespassing on their private property.
Actually, to be honest, the police officers, they did have a wild party. They knew how to de-stress.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So, yes. So how do you think you're going to react in the future then when, your little ones decide... Because you had regular listeners will realise or remember maybe you had the sleepovers.
Yeah, there was a sleepover for 7, 9 and 10-year-old girls, and it was loud and late, and then early the next morning as well, which was the worst of all worlds. I don't know, because I remember what I was like when I had the house to myself, and we used to wreck it, obviously try and rectify it again by the time my parents came back, in the style of the old Yellow Pages advert with the bloke who needs a French polisher before his parents arrive back at home, which is one of my favourite.
No reference there for our New York listeners.
Yeah, just watch that on the internet. I'm sure if you put on YouTube, you could go to Yellow Pages French polisher, and that will come up. And the bloke with like very strong, it's got a strong curtain game going on, as in the haircut curtains, is relieved when he can find a French polisher in the Yellow Pages, which isn't the euphemism that it sounds like it is.
Yeah, you find those telephone numbers on cards in phone boxes.
That was a reference for the kids lessons as well. Back in the day. Oh my goodness. So I remember what we did, like mixing all the booze in the booze cupboard, and I'd like spend most of my time throwing up, to be honest. And it was usually just like a couple of my best mates, and that was it, meeting up. But still, we'd cause some carnage, and there'd be stuff broken, and it wasn't even a big party. So heaven forbid what will happen if there's some kind of Snapchat thing going on here. But then I'd be getting ready.
A couple of 100 pre-pubescent, hormonal, slightly drunk. But it's quite, I suppose it's even trickier now because of the licensing laws for kids to get hold of alcohol and stuff. And there was a lot more, for us, there was always that corner shop that had a very liberal interpretation of law. Yeah. So we could go in, obviously, regular weeks or weekly and buy alcohol with no questions asked. Now I think it's a lot tougher. So probably less chance for them to get out of control, potentially. Yeah,
but then more impetus to use the booze that I have in the house to mix their own bizarre, weird cocktails. So maybe that's the idea. Is
creme de menthe and some, Advocaat.
And 3 bottles of Newcastle brown ale, but branded like Maximo Park, that we're keeping for some reason, even though I don't think Maximo Park are going to go up in popularity. They're a band that peaked probably about 20 years ago and are on the way down, but still, we've got them.
Another reference there for the kids.
That's not as old as some of the references. At least it's 21st century.
You say that. Should we have a little musical interlude?
Let's do it. Yeah, what do you want?
What have you got?
Well, I could play in my tune, which is by a band who I absolutely adore. They are from Leeds, and they're an amazing story. So Leeds is very close to where I live, just down the road. It's my favourite city. And this is a band, they were just basically, a couple of them were in a house share in lockdown, and then they got a couple of more mates along, and they just started a band. And by the end of the COVID pandemic, they'd had a number 2 album, and they were off to America to go and be on Jimmy Fallon and all those sort of shows over there. They've just done extraordinarily well, considering how few shows they must have played before they went and hit America and did really well there. They're on to the second album, which is called Where Is My Utopia? And this is one of the songs from it. This is called We Make Hits. They're called Yard Act, and they're just brilliant.
Rock me now! friend live upstairs in the spare room for a minute. He needed space and he paid, never relate to our letting agent that we did it. That's illegal. I sublet, yeah, I admit it. Document on tape the greatest crime this nation's saving grace devised and then committed. I just wanna make a point that the culture would have died, and post-punk's latest poster boys wouldn't have got to ride on the coattails of the dead and claim that their derision is a vehicle for their vision of subverting it instead. Now subliminal exposure is exploding in your head, cause you know that we were golden, yeah, one night up in the attic, listening to grammatics, drinking cans and shooting the shit, we reeled off all of our hopes and dreams and made a list. And there was one singular ambition we had that most musicians of our ilk aren't willing to admit, and it was to this mantra we would commit. We make hits to build millennial men, and we do it again every night on the back of the bus. You know it ain't no fuss, we're on the same wage, and we ain't afraid to get paid on stage. Our fiction, cutting the act is a fact. If you get your back backed up at that, you won't be missed. Now we make hits. We make hits, we make hits. Right, so when we were done kissing, we finally formed this band, and we signed to a subsidiary of Universal Inc. Cause the water keeps on rising, and we know there's no surprising anyone with eyes and ears round here that we're all gonna sing. And we just wanna have some fun before we're sunk. And if that's the attitude you exude, then you know you're really punk. We make hits to broke millennial men, and we do it again every night on the back of the bus. You know it ain't no fuss, we're on the same wage, and we ain't afraid to get paid on stage. Our fiction, cutting the act is a fact. If you get your back backs up at that, you won't be missed. Now we make hits. We make hits, we make hits. I'm feeling anti-CAPITALIST. It just so happens that there's other things I happen to be, so I'm gonna keep bringing shit and selling over mistakes. Bring down the wall. And if it's not a hit, we were being ironic.
There you go. That is Yard Act. We make hits. It's a good tune, right?
They are a yard act to follow.
Oh, I see what you've done there. It's very clever. It's very clever.
That was a high budget video, wasn't it?
Yeah, huge. Yeah, Spielberg.
Reminds me a bit of Sabotage with the Beasties, where they're playing the cops and they're running around.
Yes, yeah, it is. I'm sure that's probably an influence, actually, isn't it? That was, yeah. I'd not thought about that. But yeah, very much indeed. No, I love them. I think they're great. I just think they've got a load of fun. They're really interesting. They've got a really unique point of view, and they make some great tunes as well.
Yeah, I think they're quite popular on the breakfast show on Radio 6, which is the radio station I listen to in the morning while I'm getting ready.
Oh, okay. You get ready. Wow.
Well, this does not come naturally. Yeah, there is a lot of work that goes into this. Let's put it that way. Put it this way. In the world, Jim, of what we hit, there's a need to escape.
Yes.
Okay? The daily life is can be quite grinding. And do you ever seen that sort of experiment where you get like a glass jar, and then you have to tell the kids how many pebbles they can put in there? So you put the big ones in there, and you put the little pebbles in there, and then you sort of fill up with sand. And I realised when I was talking to somebody the other day, that's kind of my life. I've got this jar, and I'm trying to fill out every single available bit of time with doing something, but it almost becomes continuously overwhelming. So I just wondered, is that something you suffer from as well?
Yeah, I always need to be doing something. Like I do try and relax. And in fact, on Friday night, I purposefully didn't do anything. Like my wife was out, and normally what I'd do is I'd either finish some work that I'd not got done for the week.
Yeah.
Or I would maybe work on sort of like some of my own content for my own sort of channels and things like that. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I'm going to just sit here and just watch telly and just relax, because it'd been quite a busy week last week. I'd got a lot done. It'd been my son's birthday on Friday as well. So, we'd like swept him up from school. We'd gone to Laser Quest after that, which was very exciting. And then we'd gone for pizza, and then we'd driven back home. And it was just like, it had been a really hectic day. And because I'd had like a 3:00 hard cut off on when I could work, because we needed to get him from school and go into Leeds. And I just sat there and I thought, for the very first time in ages and ages, I'm like, I am not going to do anything other than, I watched the documentary about the Challenger, is it? The spaceship? I can't even remember which one it is. I wasn't even paying that much attention to what I was watching. I was just enjoying a night in on my own, sitting on the sofa and doing absolutely nothing. And it was joyful because, I do have that problem. I'm always trying to fill the time with something or other. And you do need to kind of take that step back at some point, don't you?
Yeah, you need time to, what I read is time to reflect and time to learn. So I've sort of whisked out sort of Friday afternoons. Like that's the time I do my life laundry, all those bits that are, hang over from the week, the food shop, paying some of the bills and whatever. That allows me to have a bit more time over, on a Saturday. Because I'm not going, pick up child from football, do this, do that, pay that bill. And I started it this week, and it already made a huge change. Where I just think, I don't have to be doing something all the time, or I could schedule in time to do things that are really nice that I potentially would have put off because I was too busy. So, really, so I'm going to the theatre on Tuesday, which is today, actually, when this goes out, to see a performance with the English National Touring Theatre of Macbeth. You didn't realise I was such a culture vulture, did you?
No, I didn't. Did you? Or did you do that by mistake? Were you meant to go to McDonald's and you?
I did not. No. I tell you what, it's the power of advertising. So it's in a local theatre where we are. Really strong posters, blood red, really, really interesting graphics and typography. And I don't really know the story of Macbeth. I probably touched upon it when I was a student, but that was 30-something years ago. And, so I'm going to go to the theatre. I'm going to watch something that I wouldn't normally watch. And I'm going to do it without guilt.
I love that. I love that as an idea. When I used to work in radio, one of the best bits of advice I was given was to read a magazine or read a book or something that you wouldn't normally touch. You wouldn't go anywhere near. And it would just give you a different insight onto...
I've seen some of those magazines you used to read.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the ones that I wouldn't read are the thing, though.
It was the ones under the hedge in the park.
Yeah, that's right. That's that. It's like a cultural exchange. When now everyone has these little libraries in villages where there's a little box of books that you can swap. You can put them in. We had that back in the day, didn't we? In the hedges, and it's
readers' wives.
It's not a new idea. We did that with Razzle. And then I thought it was a really good bit of advice because you do tend to focus too much on the stuff you already know and already want to do. And I think it's good not just for coming up with content on the radio, which was what the advice was for, but just for life, isn't it? To go, I'm just going to try something different just to see what it's like, and you get a different perspective. So I'm very impressed that you're doing that. I'm not happy that you've mentioned the M word on this podcast because that is bad luck,
you're
right?
not allowed to, are you?
No, you're not.
Yeah. Well, it's already gone wrong, so...
Okay, well, maybe it'll go right. Maybe that was what happens. But, I wouldn't believe that. I'm not a big superstitious person, but many years ago, in the Mercury Theatre in Colchester in Essex, I was with a friend of mine and we were watching some performance and then we were looking to see what the next performances were, and I went, oh look, they've got Macbeth coming on. And he went, oh, you shouldn't say that in a theatre. That's bad luck. And we laughed it off. And the next day, woke up to the news.
He died.
The theatre had burnt down. They genuinely had. There'd been like a fire at the theatre. And I was like, jeez, I just mentioned the M word yesterday. So I'm not saying that I was...
You feel guilty about that? Were you on the insurance claim? Idiot says the M word. Cause of fire, idiot.
Yeah. I'd like to be covered for third party fire theft and idiot, please, if that's possible.
All those previews would be a lot. There's a lot of idiots.
They would, yeah. I'm really inspired by that, because one of the reasons before why I wanted to go freelance was because I would sometimes... I went to this place that was out in the countryside, and the countryside was beautiful. And then I had to go to work at a job I didn't particularly like. And
was this the content company that was named after a popular boy
yes,
band?
it was. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I remember.
And so I'd drive there, and I'd be going along the road, and I'd just feel like, what would happen if I didn't turn right and I just went straight on and just had a day out in the Dales, in the Yorkshire Dales, the beautiful national park of the Yorkshire Dales. And the idea, well, I would have been fired probably at some point. But what I thought was, when I went freelance, I thought, well, that's it. You know, one day I could wake up and go, I'm not working today. I'm going to go out and climb a mountain. And I've not done it yet. And I should do, because what's stopping me? There really isn't anything stopping me. Okay, deadlines maybe, but I could work around those. You know, it'd be nice to just one day go, right, I'm not working on Thursday. I'm going to go and climb a mountain. Who's going to stop me? No one. Yeah.
I think you could should rather actively encourage yourself to do it. And like I say, we're not chained to a desk. We have these opportunities, but there is still probably that hangover from the corporate or working world where, you know, we have to be there chained to a desk 9 to 5. But it's just, that was just his idea 80 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's so ingrained into us that that's what we must do. And anything less means, you know, that we are some level of failure.
Yeah. And
actually, I think, no, screw the man, you know, revolution.
It is difficult, isn't it, to get away from these things that we just take for granted and accept that people work 9 to 5:30 and the shops are open 9 to 5:30. What a ridiculous way to run a country that is. So you want to do anything, go to an actual shop, support a bricks and mortar organisation, and you can only go in the hours at which you are chained to that desk. Is completely ridiculous.
Am I right in thinking it was Henry Ford that came up with that idea for the production line?
It might well have been, you know. I think he was behind a lot of how the world works in terms of automation and mechanization.
So the guy that wanted us to buy more cars, only in black, obviously. Decided this is how the civilized world should live its life.
But then now you have to find a way of easing people out of that, and it's difficult because you have people like Lord Sugar on TV who's like, as soon as you mention flexible working, he's like, no, not gonna happen, no. And it's like, well, actually, are you listening to the business reasons for that, or are you just going with how you feel? And I think you're going with how you feel based around the way that you've been taught about the corporate world, as you say. So
I think the that Wonka experiment, that Willy Wonka a day out of experience we've just talked about, I reckon that was one of the apprentice tasks, because that's what it looks like. It
does. It really does. That
was a challenge. Create a family day out. Oh, Willy Wonka, we use some AI, guys, and this is a table. Yeah, that's what it was.
I can't stress how accurate that is. I love The Apprentice, but it is not a program about business. It's a program about 14 idiots running around messing stuff up, which is fine because that's what I enjoy watching. I'm all up for that. But yeah, It is really like something that they would have done. Mind you, I'm not sure about the people who went to Willy Wonka's factory and expected anything other than a disastrous turnout. Because we know that is canon, that things go wrong at Willy Wonka's factory, right? That is in the original film.
Children go missing.
Yeah. So if your child hasn't been sucked up a pipe to be thrown out into the air, you're having a successful day. You've just seen a bored Oompa Loompa. If that's the worst thing that happens at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, you're doing all right, is what I think.
Have you been watching this series, The Apprentice?
On and off, yeah. It tends to be the evening that I go to do the shopping for the food.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of come in halfway through.
Because there's a lad on it, I don't know if he's still in it, from Turner's Pies. And that is an organisation that is quite local to us. And we have one of his shops in our town. And he's meant to be actually a very nice young man.
Ah.
I just wondered if he was in the running.
I can't remember. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've not watched it closely enough. Is he the chief?
Too busy down the park looking under hedges.
Of course, yeah, exactly. You don't get as many nowadays. You can't really do it with a digital download, can you? Is he
That would be weird, wouldn't it?
Is he the head pieman, or is he just a sub pieman that then wants to go on to make his own pie thing with Lord Sugar?
Well, no, he comes from a generational family of pie makers.
Okay.
And they have stores, and he's taken over. He went to school with a friend of the show, Tyler.
Oh, okay.
So they're all connected from they're back home in Bognor. Anyway, random conversation for people that haven't watched The Apprentice, don't know Tyler, and
I don't like pies.
On it yet again.
If you're celiac, I really apologise for this.
We should have put some sort of content warning in there.
Exactly.
May contain steak and kidney and gibberish.
We had my son's birthday party at the weekend, and one of his friends has got celiac disease, and so she can't have wheat or anything like that. And her mum brings like a packed lunch to every party because you know when you go any dietary requirements, I think she realizes that that's above and beyond the call of duty for a lot of parents. So I think that's really thoughtful of her. But it feels really bad to have his birthday cake and then be handing it out to everyone, going, there you go, there's a bit of birthday cake, for you, bit for you, not for you, bit for you, bit for you. It just seems really bad. I felt like the worst person.
Has the kid come to terms with that, the child?
Yeah.
Or was he used to it, or just going, this is make me awful, give me some and I'll sneak it down behind the sofa and have some.
Yeah, that might be where she goes when she's a bit older, but currently she seems okay with it. She didn't really mind. And also by that point in the 7-year-old party, it was utter absolute chaos anyway. So, she would go run off and jump on some soft play that there was in the corner of this football field, which is weird.
Nice. Well, that was just a night out for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest, we got there 20 minutes early, just to set everything up. And I just really enjoyed playing football because they had quite a good indoor football pitch in this massive warehouse. And I really...
warehouse where Willy Wonka was.
Yeah, well, it was, I mean, to be honest, it was slightly more...
I told you were behind it.
Yes, you got me. You tricked me into it. I admit it. I am the Willy Wonka evil deeds person. No, I was just really enjoying playing football on the little indoor football pitch, and I was gutted when his friends turned up. I thought, hopefully no one's going to turn up and we'll just have this for 2 hours and I could just play a bit of football.
Yeah, forget the social scarring that you have of your second born, as long as you get a chance to put one in the back of the net.
He'd get over it, surely. Come on. I'll let him score and he'll be happy.
Years of therapy later. Should we have a little musical interlude?
Yeah, let's do it. What do you want?
Go on. I came across this next song, this next video, and it reminded me I was actually at this gig, and I'd forgotten that I saw this band. It's the Beastie Boys, and it's Sure Shot, and it was shot at Wembley at Live Aid. Not Live Aid, sorry. What was it?
The Smash Hits Poll Winners Party.
No, there was a something aid for
Lemonade.
global warming.
Was it Lemonade?
It was not Lemonade. I don't play the video because it might be on the backdrop. What bloody thing it was?
Okay, this is once again two middle-aged men misremembering things.
Let's start it like this, son. Are you ready? Fighting! The King and Rock! LCA!
Nick Master Mike.
BC's Boy!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Make some noise, y'all! Come on!
we're taking over.
You don't stop! You don't stop! You don't stop!
Mike D coming right back on now!
Guarantees like you. I like that chart. Yeah, Mr. Suits who I'm newlywed. It's not a T-Ball C. Everything I do is fucking like me. Just see ya. Taking up the pedal. 1, 2, 3. You got to do the rhyme and come see me. Sad warfare. Do you need rhyme? I keep it on and on. It's never quitting time.
Strictly handheld is the style it goes. Never rock the mic with the pantyhose. All my ear doctors and I'm ready to go. It's in the boards. Tim, y'all.
Well, when it's touch, then you know I'm coaching. All the bunny people keep on rocking the boat. And then I got my action in the man job. And I got back hits like I was rocking the room.
You can't, you won't.
You don't stop.
No, you can't, you won't.
You don't stop.
Cause you can't, you won't.
You don't stop. Rock me, rock the short shot. First thing on the all in, watch it in the. Listen, everybody, cause I'm dirty when I get my spit. On the microphone while I come correct. Someone like a clock when I rock the hip hop.
Stuck in the soul vibe. I got my bounce and I got great hands. Blow that's a lot because I got shit.
You got a hole in my head. No one is gonna straight my thoughts. I'm thinking too much. Sing, gotta think, gotta get back. Gotta cut that plate. I'm like Lee Perry 'cause we very. Or rock the microphone, we very gone live. Or Bodie, I'm a cheap twizzy. Never quit. Listen.
Ah, yes, indeed, it's fun time, fun time.
You don't stop. You don't stop. You don't stop. It's the end. What?
This is like the woman that's got to be doing. To all the mothers and the sisters and the wives and friends. Gotta offer our love and respect to them.
Should be something. Right, hunter ever. You can call it that. So talk. See the fun of guys watching the TV. Masters on a wax, not using the CD. Kid in the corner. All that something. And when it's in my corner, take a piece of the pie. But now I'm not shit. I'ma change my style again.
Underwear soaked with a piece of elastic. Usable mic. Let's spin it elastic. The summer bounce out. To all the next series. Like my bella, that's the communication. You can't, you won't.
You don't stop.
Because you can't, you won't.
You don't stop.
You know you can't, you won't.
You don't stop. Keep on and you're rocking the sure side.
That was a gig.
That was cracking, wasn't it? Wasn't that great?
It was. I was so far up in the nosebleed seats on that though, and also I'm not good with heights,
Right.
So I was there all day, and there's about a 2-foot space where you walk, so I had to sit there rather than. Christ, I'm seeing the beasties. I should be in the mosh pit, jumping up. That was 2007,
Right.
and I'd completely forgotten I'd gone to that gig. I'm just looking at the lineup now, right?
Yeah.
Deep Breath, the Foo Fighters, Metallica, Linkin Park, Smashing Pumpkins, Pink Floyd, Rihanna, the Beastie Boys, Madonna, Genesis, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Spinal Tap, Pharrell, Snoop Dogg, Shakira, Fall Out Boy, Bon Jovi, Alicia Keys, Kanye, and The Police.
Whoa.
And I'd forgotten I'd seen most of those people.
So that's Live Earth. That's what it was called.
That was Live Earth, yeah.
Because that was my question was going to be who else was on that night, because I just wondered if, you'd had to sat through Daphne and Celeste and Rick Astley in order to see the Beasties. But no, you were probably pretty much entertained from start to finish that day.
Yeah, there was different concerts, I think, in different cities around the world. So they went to recreate Live Aid, obviously, for ecology and sustainability. A lot of backlash, though, because a lot of the artists were being put there in big fancy jet planes.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been better to have had the Beastie Boys in New York, wouldn't it? You know, where they didn't have to get a plane
Yes.
to get there, and you know, just because.
But then would you have raised the money?
Well-
So, you know, it's kind of is and isn't, you know, if
tough.
they offset all of their fuel and stuff like that and raise millions of pounds for projects,
Then yeah, okay, I could see how that would work.
can be quite small-minded to go, no, you shouldn't be. They should not have left their house.
Yeah, no, exactly. Don't leave
Yeah.
your house, don't heat it, and then just sit there. And my other question about that is, if you were that far back, how much time did you spend watching the actual people on stage and how much on the screens that were behind them?
I couldn't see the people on stage, to
No.
be honest. I've got poor eyesight anyway. But it really was, it was a lottery for the tickets. You couldn't say, I want to sit in there unless you wanted to pay, you know, $1 billion pounds, which is actually a form of currency, $1 billion pounds.
Yep, I know, yeah.
No, I just 40 quid in it. Then these are the seats that they've got. But I do remember it just being so high up that it was quite unenjoyable.
But
for a lot
still,
of the gig.
you've seen all of those acts, so tick them off.
I've got the
tick 'em off.
bragging rights. If I
Yes.
remembered, I've got the bragging rights. The
it's horrible.
gigs you've got, you went to.
Isn't it horrible when you start to just forget all the good bands you've seen? Going, oh, they sound like they'd be good. Oh no, I did. I saw them. Yeah, okay, right. Back in the day. Well,
Well, fortunately, you know, back in the day, they used to give you physical tickets,
yes.
and I was quite good at collecting tickets. So I've got a nice box, like a chest, in my bedroom that's got old flyers and gig tickets in there. And you know, when I'm bored, I'll go and look into it, and I'll remember. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten that. Christ, there's that band. There's that band. That's that band.
Yeah, you can't do that with
Now you don't get it.
Not with a QR code, can you? You know, it's not got the same nostalgia as those old tickets. That is like those and football programs they used to get back in the day. The little magazines that you got on the day, those are quite good. And there's you go to quite a few like vintage fairs, and there's this this sort of couple that sell a lot of old football magazines, and they've got some from my team, Scunthorpe United. Occasionally they come up. And it's looking through them, and just getting that. Okay, that's the team that I used to see most often. Oh my goodness, but no, everything's gone a different way, and we can't stand in the way of progress. Because if we do stand in the way of progress, then we'd still be sitting at our desk 9 to 5, chained to them like the corporate people want us to.
Yeah, I went to a gig on Saturday night with Tyler, one of our dads, and it's called the Manchester Experience. It was a covers band, just playing a load of Oasis and the Smiths and stuff like that. And you knew exactly what you were going to get. But it was lovely. But then they started to play James, Sit Down. And I turned around to Tyler and go, oh, do you remember we used to play this and people used to sit down? Where was Tyler? He was already on the floor, sat down with his group of lads. There was these guys in their 40s and 50s going, I'll sit down, I'll sit down. But if I go down, I ain't getting up.
No, that's the problem. Yeah, when you get to your 40s, that's not happening anymore. And also, you know, how many pairs of trousers were ruined back in the day by cider sticky floors at indie clubs when people played James and you had to sit down on it? No, thank you.
I do remember being in big clubs, though, and that actually happening. People would get on the floor and do it, and I thought, it would be funny just remembering, seeing these grown up, well, I said grown up, these full-size children.
Yes.
But it did tickle me. It did tickle me. So
another thing I've noticed about aging is, a few weeks ago I mentioned that we were playing football regularly. The dads of my kids' football team. The dads are getting together to do five-a-sides regularly. We have already had 2 weeks cancelled because of excessive injuries. I don't think this is what happens when a group of 20-year-olds gets together to play regular five-a-side football. We seem to be on 1 week on, 2 weeks off at the moment while people recover. Someone had lost a toenail after the last one. There's been quite a few.
Are you like really dirty tacklers then, or what?
No, it's all people who've overexerted themselves. It's men in their mid-40s who've decided that they are Pele and not people in their mid-40s. Pele in his prime. I would hesitate to mention. And so, people have just pulled muscles just because they've overdone it. And so it's a faltering start to Football Club, but we'll be back next week. Who knows?
Would you consider there's that big thing about walking football? For gents of a certain age.
Yeah, I think the problem is the gents that I play football with would probably start doing the walking, and then the competitive thing would take over. It seems to be they're getting very competitive and very much wanting to like outdo each other. So they'd start walking for about 2 minutes and then start running around, pelting around, and then break themselves again. But I think that's a really good idea if you can be disciplined and stick to it. But knowing the people that are on that WhatsApp group, it's not going to happen.
It's probably not. I have seen, I was at some local sports centre for an event, and I think it sort of coincided with the walking football thing. But what was nice was afterwards, they're all hanging out, having a cup of tea and having a chat. So it wasn't so much the playing of the sport. I think it was more about the camaraderie.
Yes, the social aspect is definitely, I think, really, really important. And that's kind of what I'm enjoying out of it as well on the weeks that we do actually get to play.
So after you play, do you get drunk, have 8 pints and go for a curry?
Just to really... No, actually, we don't, to be honest. But it's quite nice because we do kind of lift chairs and stuff. So, we get to have like nice chat and stuff. It's nice. But it may develop into that as well, which would ruin any of the good work that the football's done.
Yes, exactly. You can't be running around with a belly full of beer.
No.
So this has been the Dadless Old Extra Time Show, episode 447,396.
That's what it feels like. It feels like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's draining. Can we... Have we got time for one more song before we disappear out of this?
If it's a 3-minute song, I will go while it's playing and go and put my shoes on, ready to do the school run.
To the school run, aren't you?
Yeah. Do you want to play Notorious B.I.G.? Is that what you wanted?
No, because that's got naughty words in it.
Oh, has it? Okay.
And you'll spend hours having to edit out. But how about Labby Sifri?
Yes.
Really nice to go out one. Edit it afterwards. And for anybody that's seen the recent film, The Handover, which is a gang of private school kids that have to stay at school over the Christmas holidays in the 70s, is beautiful. So until next week, I've been Dan, he's been Jim. www.dadlessoul.com. Come and find out more about what we are actually doing.
Crying never did nobody no good, no how. That's why I don't cry. That's why I don't cry. Laughing sometimes does somebody some good somehow. That's why I'm laughing now. That's why I'm laughing now. Loving never did me no good, no how, no how. That's why I can't love you now. That's why